Okay, so I have been making short videos for a while, TikToks, gig days, little things like that. I think a natural progression is to make long form YouTube videos. I've always really wanted to progress into this sort of way, and I think this is a natural sort of direction for me because I love making videos, I love producing content. Obviously, when the video and the audio works, that is lush. This is my first day in the studio that I use doing it, and I thought, great, I got hours left, I could do all these sorts of things. And then I realised that one, the video wouldn't load, and two, the audio wouldn't load. Some learning curves for me. I am a professional guitarist from South Wales in the UK. I've been lucky enough to be playing professionally now for probably about 5 years, but I've been playing guitar for, I'd say, 14 years. Yeah, I'm really looking to build a music community online, whether it's guitarists, singers, bass players, drummers, whoever you are, saxophone players. I want to try and build a bit of a community we can all, share music together, learn together, do all sorts of stuff. You know what, I think I'm going to come a little bit closer for this. Anyway, this is 10 things I would do if I had to relearn the guitar again, if I had to relearn the instrument from the ground up. My first tip is don't compare yourself to others. Naturally, as human beings, we are subject to this. I will say it's easy to go online these days and see some real virtuoso guitar players, bass players, singers, unbelievable talents, and you can get them like that now. Whereas back in the day, I can imagine you used to have to go to bars, clubs, jazz clubs. You'd see them live at their own concert. Now it's a lot more accessible. You could run into the next Bob Dylan down at your local open mic night, really. The two comparisons that I have really for this is Samuel Jackson. He started acting when he was 40 years of age, or he had his first movie role anyway, and he became, one of the highest grossing actors of all time. Ennio Morricone, more relatable to music. I remember Ennio Morricone. I think he was 87 when he won his first Oscar. And bearing in mind he'd done the music for Fistful of Dollars, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. He had basically completed Western music. And after all the good work he'd done over the years, he only won his first Grammy then. So, first Oscar. First Oscar. I didn't make that mistake the first time around. He had an amazing career anyway. It is a great achievement to have an Oscar, and he's definitely somebody that should have had one at that point. Some things just don't always come at once. You might be learning a piece for 12 months, and if somebody gets it in a month, it doesn't mean that they're 11 months better than you. It's worth not comparing yourself in terms of gear. You have people now playing the cheapest guitars on tours and things like that, and I saw a video of a guy, I'll have to link it down below, of somebody, and he's an amazing player. I think he's a lap steel player as well, or a pedal steel player, and he played a £40 guitar on an arena tour with a Fleetwood Mac tribute. And it just goes to show that you don't need these high-end things. You just need great sounds. As long as you sound amazing, that's what it's all about. Tip 2 is don't let music theory get you down. I've been in this situation where I've let it get me down, and I've just come up with the same realization every time that it doesn't actually really matter that much. Theory is one of those things, especially if you get success on an instrument without learning theory, then you always think, well, why do I need it? Which is dangerous. If you carry on that way, then you could end up just playing the same things over and over again and not learning anything, essentially. What I would say is that theory usually comes alongside it. You'll actually sort of develop your own theory in a way, and you'll make sense of it yourself. So I would say just crack on, carry on learning. It's something I always used to beat myself up over. I'd know certain things, but over the years I've just noticed things just fall into place really easily. They just happen, and then all of a sudden I just start understanding things. And although I've sort of made my own little ways of thinking of things, if somebody was to say one thing now in a band, I would be able to pick it out and go, okay, cool. Don't let it get you down. If you're there playing a song, you're always there to serve the song. That's the main number one rule. And if you're doing that, then whales. Tip 3 is to record yourself playing. I would always advise to do this because it's sort of harsh reality. Yeah, you'll definitely hear yourself in full, in detail. What you've got to do is just be really honest with what you're hearing. If you like the note choices, but you don't like the sound of the guitar, then the tone is the issue. If obviously the tone is great, then fantastic, because to be honest, I'd rather listen to a one-note solo that sounds amazing than 1,000 notes and the tone is... It's great to actually identify what is potentially going wrong, and then you can obviously change that to better your playing and to better your experience learning then, because if you like what you hear or you like the note choices that you're making, you're going to progress a lot quicker than if you don't, because you're not going to like it, and it's just going to send you down a rabbit hole basically. Tip 4 is playing with other musicians. This petrified me for the longest time. I was in my bedroom learning to play guitar. I didn't know if I was good or not because I had no barometer. I was learning on my own. I could play the songs that I was learning. I was learning off this like little CD, but I didn't know if I was good or not. So I still don't know. Until about 8 months in, there were some guys in a year above me. I was in year 10 in school and they were in year 11, and they asked me to jam, and I was like, yeah. Although I was petrified, I knew they were great players, amazing guitarists. And he's playing Lights of Heaven by Joe Satriani, and I was like, whoa, this is legit. And he was playing Crazy Train as well, and I was like, this is scary. But yeah, they were playing like songs, proper songs, and ripping, like really playing them, and it was great. But they just embraced me. They just brought me in and said, just play with us, and that's what I did. I just learned to play with them. I then learned to play Lights of Heaven, and then I sort of broke out of that, being scared to play with people because they were so welcoming, and I was very lucky, very, very lucky. I would say musicians are mostly great people, so you're not going to have much of an issue, to be honest, and there are plenty places to play with people. I know it's not always easy to sort of find people to play with. I was very fortunate in school that I got offered to play with these people, which is amazing. I've listed a couple of ways you can actually play with musicians that might be a little unconventional. Obviously, the first one's going to always be play with real musicians, whether it's open mic nights. If you want to watch people, take it in, then great. Just to see people play, see how they interact with other musicians. You can just go and take it in, and then when you feel ready, you can jump up and have a play. You don't have to jump in straight away. Just do whatever's comfortable for you. Number 2 is actually playing guitar backing tracks. So you can put backing tracks on YouTube or on your laptop or whatever it is. Play along with it. You're playing with real musicians. There's no guitar on the track because you've taken it out. You can play to songs without guitar in it, or you can play to, solo backing tracks and things like that, so you can solo over. Number 3 is you can actually Google or YouTube bass lines or just drum hooks on their own. I love playing the drum hooks because you're just playing whatever and whatever comes out, and if you like what you're playing and it sounds good, then you're locking in with that groove. Sometimes drummers don't always stick to a consistent click, and they have a bit of feel and they have a bit of groove, they have a bit of push and pull, and I will say that's a really good way of learning like funk guitar. You're having somebody who's playing a little behind the beat or ahead of the beat, and yeah, I would say it's a massive tip really is to play with, even if you can play with real drummers, great, because they can move, they can flex, but whatever. But you can play with virtual drummers online, so who needs a real drummer? Tip 6 is learning songs. So I would always advise to learn songs because it's just the best way to learn music. Good night. Joking. No, seriously, learning songs is what you do playing. If you're playing gigs, you're playing cover music or playing somebody's music or whatever it may be, but essentially you are playing songs. You're not really playing pieces of random bits. You're not playing, whatever, but you're playing songs. Always serve the song. That's my tip within the tip. You gotta always serve the song no matter what. If you're there just to play 2 notes in the bridge, then you're there to play 2 notes in the bridge. If obviously you're with the musical director and they say, can you give me a bit more of this, a bit more of that, whatever, great, be prepared for that. But always try and serve the song. Ringo Starr is a master of that kind of deal. A lot of people give Ringo a lot of stick for, you know, just being a bit of a loose drummer. But if you want to learn anything about groove or professionalism and just vibes, really, just pure musical vibes, it's Ringo. He's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable musician, but you have to really hear it. There's a great video, I'll link it down below as well, of a guy explaining, this is like a really old video, of a guy explaining, I think it's Ticket to Ride, and it's like, and it's like sort of behind the beat, this like swampy, as people say. That's the Ringo style, and he plays like a really modern thing over it, and everyone obviously prefers the Ringo thing because that's how the song is played. And it goes to show how stark it can be, because he's playing this like very complex playing over this Beatles track, and it's just like, even if it's cool for a second, it wears off pretty thin pretty quick. So, you know, always serve the song. I went on a bit of a rampage there, but I'm sorry. And I will say, with learning songs, you actually end up picking up little bits here and there to add to your, you know, your theory or your knowledge of the guitar. So you actually end up sort of dual purposing things. You learn chords, and you'll be like, oh, that chord's from this song, or, you know, the scale or this lick reminds me of blah blah blah. And then that's how I pretty much developed my own theory. And then, you know, when I started playing more and more and more and more, it all just came together, and then I actually started learning the names of things, and here I am. I know what an E major 7 is now. Come a long way. Tip 7 is actually be a sponge around more experienced musicians. I actually am not even taking my own advice, really, because I was in a party with a lot more experienced musicians than me last night. All I did was just chat with them, to be honest, and just catch up. Yeah, I would highly advise that, you know, if you are around more experienced musicians, whether it's in college or university, I was always looking up to those players. And this doesn't just apply to real life either. You might be anxious to go to these places, you might not want to go to these places, which is absolutely fine. Luckily these days, you've got YouTube, you've got all these amazing players on there. You've got Rick Beato, you've got Paul Davids, you've got Matthias Asato, you've got, I mean, there's Chris Buck, he's a Welsh boy. Like, there's so many great guitarists out there now that you really don't have to leave the comfort of your own home. Yeah, one thing I always notice about like really amazing players is like when they're in their pocket in the groove or whatever, and they're playing towards a song, usually drummers, you look at them and I just get this feeling that they've got another 3 gears in them. They've got, you know, maybe like another 40% that they can give if they wanted to. They don't. They're serving the song. The 60% they're giving is, you know, purely the song, and they are giving all of that. But if they wanted to rip it up, if they wanted to make you go wow, they could. And that's the feeling I get with amazing players. I just, you know, I get that. It's I can't explain it. It's weird. Thing is, as well, with more experienced musicians, I mean, they'll have plenty of stories to tell you if they're nice enough. And what I would say is that you're only ever going to learn something from them, even learn something from you. You know, everyone has their own different experiences, and that's the thing that sort of sets this profession apart from most other things. There's no one way to do it, which makes it harder to make these kind of videos. Tip 8 is try to explore new genres. When I started, I was like a rock head. I had this CD of a compilation of these songs. It was While My Guitar Gently Weeps Volume 2, I want to say. If I can find a photo, I'll put it up. But it was great. I think it had like Cocaine on there, Eric Clapton, Layla, Derek and the Dominoes, Clapton again, Jeff Healey, While My Guitar Gently Weeps was on there, Guns N' Roses was on there, Bon Jovi was on there. It was, yeah, all these guitar-centric massive bands. I just wanted to be a rock guy. I was like, I'm gonna play rock, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability, and that's it. It's sort of a tip within a tip, but I would solo over the last choruses, or I'd just solo over the whole pop song, you know, because it's the radio, I'd only get one chance. But you can do that, and you can just play your style over the backing track, you know, over the song. Some pop songs are so good, and like the grooves and the players on them are amazing. So the solo over them, it's just like solo over like a really great backing track. Yeah, I would advise, like, I always use my Discover Weekly on Spotify. I find amazing new artists on there, and I find really old tracks that I might have missed. I always would advise to go back and listen to people people like Ray Charles, Nat King Cole, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke's one of my favourite singers ever. But going back and listening to like songs of the 60s or songs of the 70s, songs of the 80s, you will get a good understanding for different genres, because there were different movements within that time. You'll definitely get a feel for what was cracking at the time, and you'll also get a better understanding really of music in general, just from playing jazz and folk and country. Tip 9 is to be clear on why you're learning the guitar. I learned to play guitar based off one CD, and it was all rock heavy guitar. I just smashed out Guitar Hero World Tour, and I just thought, why can't I play guitar myself? Yeah, I just very quickly learned that I wanted to be a rock-centric guitarist, and then when I was doing that, it was great. I was, getting on. I did hit my ceiling then, and I was just like, I don't think I can hit the levels of some other rock guitarists. I'm really shy. I just didn't really have it in me to go that extra level, basically. But I had that, and I hit my ceiling. I would be clear on why you want to learn. Are you going to be playing acoustic songs and singing down the pub? Requires a whole different skill set to, say, maybe being a session guitarist, just be a songwriter and write songs and send it off to somebody else to sort of flesh out. Or you can be all of them, really. You can do it all. I mean, a lot of people just switch between and dab in between bits and really do what you want. But what I would say is, at the very start, it's nice to have a clear vision. I wanted to just play rock. I learned to play rock. Just always remember, you're on your own path. I sound like a prophet. You're on your own path, son. I sound like a prophet down the pub. Tip 10 is use a metronome. Now, I've written it down, and I'm like, I've contradicted myself here. But what I mean is, it's important to learn to play to a click. 95% of my gigs, I would say, are to a click track. So a lot of the time, I will be there adjusting my mix at gigs just to get the click really high, so I'm always in time. Make sure I got enough of the drums. Like I mentioned earlier, in terms of playing with real live musicians, you realise sometimes it sways, and the really good drummers can sway with the click. It's not always necessary that you have to play on the beat every time. If you're playing with other musicians, you usually get a sense of time anyway, so when it does come to playing with the click, just be careful, and obviously learn to play with the drummer as well as playing with the click, because it can be quite jarring. Okay, so I think I've just successfully redone the whole video. It's natural for me anyway, because I actually, apart from talking to the camera, this is very unnatural, but everything else, filming, gigs, I love doing it, and I love editing as well. So apart from the actual speaking to the camera, it's pretty alien to me. But if you have any questions about learning, or anything that you've experienced when learning how to play the guitar, you can pop them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you myself. Like I say, I'm trying to create some sort of music community here on YouTube. If you have any experiences of your own that would help others, pop them down, because if you do get round to watching this, or if people flock to this video, then all help is good help. And if it's not, I will fact check it. And if you could like the video and subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm hoping, like I say, to do more and more videos like this. I really want to try and push this channel and do one video a week and see where I am after a year. And hopefully this is recorded, the video and the audio, and I can just shut off and not worry anymore. But yeah, take care, all the best.